In the late stages of the Clone Wars, one clone pilot was shot down in a flurry of fire, causing horrific damage to his ship and leaving him in a deep coma for the closing days of the war. During his deep slumber, however, the order to eliminate all Jedi Knights of the Republic for their treason, Order 66, was issued by Chancellor Palpaitne, turning all clones against their generals. So, I'm going to break down how one brave clone trooper reacted to waking up shortly after Order 66 was issued. Before we get into it, make sure to smash the subscribe button down below for more awesome Star Wars lore content. The story begins deep in the dark void of space, with an unfortunate clone pilot drifting rapidly through a thick debris field after being violently shot down by separatist forces many weeks ago. As this is happening, a local junk salvager is scavenging the area for rubble and spare parts that were lost during the Clone Wars. Inside his junk gathering ship is a captured unit of B-1 battle droids that did not receive the shutdown order from Mustafar after Order 66 was given. One of the B-1 battle droids quickly notices that a V-19 Torrent starfighter is nearby, with extensive damage ravaging the tiny ship. The salvage man then orders his battle droid servants to pull the craft aboard to see if anything can be salvaged from the ship, despite it barely being held together. As the battle droids reel in the fighter and approach it with their chainsaws and scanning devices, they quickly report to the junker that there is a problem. A clone trooper's life support system is still active, but in a critical state. The B-1 units are puzzled by this, but quickly ask, "What are your instructions?" The junker is deeply annoyed by this complication, but orders his battle droid units to take the unconscious clone trooper to the nearby sickbay. A short while after being moved to the medical bay, the clone trooper awakens in a painful haze before turning his head to see his mortal enemies, the B-1 battle droids. Upon seeing their shiny metal heads, the clone trooper leaps out of his medical bed and rushes towards the B-1 units in a rage, hurling them into the walls before tearing their heads off with fury. Even with the B-1 units begging to talk this out, the clone trooper continues ripping the limbs from the helpless clankers. As he is doing this, however, a sharp projectile gracefully flies through the air, hitting the brave soldier directly in the back, violently shocking him until he falls to the ground. The junker then enters the room, angrily shouting at the clone trooper about the mess he has just created. He even goes on to call the clone trooper stupid, not happy at all, because he just destroyed the B-1 battle droids, which took him an incredible amount of time to reprogram. And at the end of the story, let me know what you think this clone's nickname should be, since he never actually gets a nickname, only being known by a serial number. The brave clone trooper is aching all over his body as he wakes up, but the junker tells him to stop being such a baby because it's only a temporary electro dart. He also goes on to say, "You clones don't seem that tough to me." The junker then reluctantly tells the clone, "I didn't want to have to do this, but you leave me no choice," before attaching a metallic shackle, imprisoning him inside of his room. The clone trooper is understandably frustrated at the situation and asks the old man what exactly he wants from him. The old scrapper then tells the clone trooper that his name is Herd Coil and explains how he saved the trooper's life when he salvaged his starfighter. After this, however, Coil says something incredibly chilling. In a passing comment, he says, "You clones must be pretty busy killing all of them Jedi in Order 66. This sends the clone trooper into a state of confusion and almost a panic, as he begs to know when Order 66 was executed. The trooper of course knows what Order 66 is, as all clones on Kamino were given the list of contingency orders that may be issued at any moment, including Order 65, which would give them the power to arrest or execute the Supreme Chancellor, and Order 37, which would give them the power to arrest and detain the entire population of a planet for the purposes of hunting down a fugitive." As the clone trooper continues demanding to know when Order 66 was enacted, Coil laughs it off, saying, "You go off floating around in space for a few weeks and you miss out on your orders," before returning to his repair area to fix his damaged B-1 units. As the old junker leaves the room, the trooper returns to his bed, patiently awaiting his return, but quickly notices a young girl wearing very familiar robes, staring at him through a metal cage that she is in. The trooper attempts to ignore it, but after her stare continues on for far too long, he flies into a rage and tears the bars out of their sockets, ripping the young girl out. The clone then holds the young girl high above the ground, demanding to know who she is and what she is doing inside of a cage, but the girl just insults the clone trooper, telling him that he doesn't look so tough to her. As the trooper pulls her in closer in anger, she quickly laughs it off and says that she was just joking. Unfortunately for the soldier, however, he is once again painfully hit with another electro dart, instantly paralyzing him, sending him tumbling to the ground. Coil then rushes inside of the room, pulling the young girl, called Nia, back to a dark, creepy containment box, telling her that she is in big trouble. Nia is terrified of returning back to the horrid conditions of the cage, but she is unfortunately helpless to stop it. As soon as the trooper sees this, he is horribly confused, asking, "Kidnapping children? Order 66? What kind of separatist plot is this?" Feeling like he has absolutely no other option, the trooper gathers all of his remaining strength to violently tear his shackle plating off of the wall, finally freeing him from his confinement. As he does this, the junker is shocked at just how out of hand this situation has become, and tells himself that he is just a simple salvage ship captain. As he is walking in sadness away from the prison box where he is keeping the young girl, his protocol droid comes rushing down the hallway, clanking his legs as he warns Coil that the clone has escaped from his room. This again sends the old man into a panic as he demands that his security droids guard the children that he has captured. As this is happening, however, one of his repaired B-1 battle droid units reports that a Republic cruiser is now in range and is demanding to inspect the cargo holds of the ship. As Coil's modified B-2 security droid begins to patrol the hallway, the trooper calms himself before throwing a tiny metal object with incredible accuracy, distracting the droid for long enough to firmly smash a metal bar over his head, disabling him immediately. The trooper then begins to slowly move forward into the mysterious dark room before he is suddenly overwhelmed by punches, kicks, and is finally slammed into the ground, turning his vision blank and making him see stars. Moments later, the group of children inside surround the clone as he lies in pain on the ground, but in response, the trooper bursts with a violent rage, pushing all of the young children away from him. Once he gets up, he again notices the familiar robes from earlier, asking, "You kids are Jedi?" The trooper is of course still incredibly confused, but Nia, the same young Jedi from earlier, walks up to the clone with her friends warning her to be careful. Nia tells them that everything will be fine, as not all clones are bad. While this is going on, Coil's ship is immediately boarded by a yellow-trimmed ARC Trooper commander and his men, who demand to inspect the vessel, because there have been many reports of these types of ships transporting surviving Jedi to the Outer Rim. Coil pleads with the ARC Trooper to let him go without search, but soon after, the clone trooper emerges from the room with the Jedi and greets the two. He tells them that his name is Hob 147 of the Light Brigade Division, before explaining how Captain Coil salvaged his ship and saved him from certain death. In order to protect the young Jedi, he then lies, telling the ARC commander that he has searched the vessel thoroughly and has seen no evidence of him smuggling Jedi. He jokingly goes on to say, "But I wouldn't buy anything from him if I were you," much to the relief of the old scrapper. And to end the story, the ARC commander accepts the vouch from Hob and moves his troops quickly off of the salvage vessel. The trooper and the junker exchange their gratitude before Hob looks back at the young Nia inside of her cage, smiling as he walks off, with the young Jedi quickly saying, "I knew you were tough." So that is the story of the clone trooper who was in a coma during Order 66 and was not able to execute Order 66. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.